Howdy folks, Chuck here, Wynot Wander, with another video, working on the RV today, which seems to be what I do most days here lately. Had a few minor problems, some of them very minor, some of them not so minor, but let me show you what I'm doing today. We're just coming out of the RV here. We're going to start our work here on the picnic table. For right now, I've got both hands full of stuff. Nice day. We're in Goshen Springs Campground. Oh, I see I've lost or misplaced, or not on there is the back cover to my GoPro. Looks like we're still working all right. But I'm going to fold out the legs on my little camera tripod here. Sit it down. I'll sit down over here, kind of show you what I got going on at the moment. On our heating system, furnace system as it were, actually we're a hot water system with a couple of heat exchangers. A couple of blowers been giving me problems. Now those have a blower in it like this. This is one of them. This is out of the far front. This one had quit a couple months ago. I took it out, I lubed it up, shot some WD-40 in there and everything. It worked for a week or two and then quit again. Now, I could maybe do that again. I don't really know. But since another one had quit also, I managed to take the entire motor apart on it, cleaned up the brushes, lubed the bushings, and managed to get it going. It's still going. It's in there running right now. Now this box that I have here, we did some searching around in Conway, Arkansas, RV dealers, electrical repair dealers, went to the diesel shop that usually does the service work on my RV, which is behind me here. They found a motor that looked like it might work. Now, on this motor, it looks like this shaft, this is ground off. Somebody has cut off a shaft on that motor. The closest replacements we could find, and I'll show you what's in the box. I just picked it up. We had it shipped down here to the campground. There was some question what shipping time was going to be, but on eBay, we found these while we were in Arkansas. 4 wires. Same as that one. Let's see, it has a DCM 0632SL. This one had a DCM number D001835. Now I called the DCM Corporation. They did not list this number anywhere. We got online. My problem was finding a shaft long enough for this blower, or this squirrel cage they call it. Okay, now this looks to be an exact match lengthwise. You can't really see that in there. This shaft has to come up here. It's about 2 5/8, 2 3/4, somewhere in that neighborhood. But this is the closest motor we could find to it, and as you can see, it has shafts on both ends. Now, the squirrel cage goes on one end. Let's see, does this have an arrow? Yes, it has an arrow. Rotates that way, so I need to put my squirrel cage on this end. I need to cut this end off. Everything else looks the same. That goes in a housing like this. It actually sits in here just like this. This clamps down on it. The mounting bolts really have nothing to do with it. The wires kind of hang out the end, more or less like that. Now once I get the squirrel cage on there, I can adjust this back and forth as need be so that the squirrel cage centers in the opening here to blow air out. So it looks like we've been successful in finding a suitable replacement for this motor, but I do have to cut that shaft off. Now I've got a Dremel tool, I got a couple Dremel cut-off wheels. I'm hoping this shaft is soft enough for me to cut right through. If you can see, now this is actually we're only going to use 2 of these wires. It's a single speed motor for my coach. It only feeds one way, black ground, red hot when it's turned on. makes the blower motor run. Now I mentioned it turns this way. There's an arrow on there. It is directional specific, but depending on which way your wires hooked up to 12 volt. Negative, positive, it turns that way. Positive, negative, you reverse them, hook your positive, your black, your red to negative, turns the other way. I did learn that as well when I was messing with these other motors earlier. Now you see there's no connectors on there. It just was connected with wire nuts. I'm going to do the same thing. I don't need this connector. Don't have a use for it. We're not even using two of the wires. So anyway, I want to verify that I'm cutting off the right end. It looks like I will be. My technical knowledge, that's a joke, folks. Very limited. Very limited. Cut this end off. This end turns the right way. If it didn't, I'd just reverse the wires. So we're going to try and cut off this end with my Dremel. I'll dig that out and I'll be back with you here. Okay, here we go. Got my Dremel with a cutoff wheel in it at the motor. The end of the shaft we want to cut off. It goes in, I think it's aluminum metal box. It has like a little heater core in it, the water hose to it, electrical wires. They call it a heat exchanger for the RV. The hot water system pumps hot water into it. Then the blower, just like a heater core on a car, and then air blows through it, blows the warmed air into the interior of the coach. Now, if I can get this cut off, I don't know how well, how easy, how hard. I think that turns counterclockwise as I'm looking at it there. So right here, if I start in here, so it's going to cut it fairly easily. We're not quite halfway through now. Try and keep the sparks from shooting in my face. I probably could have done this with a vise and a hacksaw if I had a vise and a hacksaw. I think I do have a hacksaw somehow, but I got the Dremel I use for quite a few odds and ends things. Repair projects on the RV mostly. Seems like you always have to make stuff work when you're RVing, so. I think we're just about through it here. Just about. There it is. Kind of like what the end of the other one looked like. So that should be good. Need to get the squirrel cage off. I measured, it's about a 1/4 inch of the fan, of the shaft sticking through the fan in here. So slip this fan off, slip it on there. It does have a little clamp on it here, needs pliers. Spread that, pull that out, and then as I recall, I used a couple screwdrivers to pull that off. It may come off a little easier by now because I've had it off 2 or 3 times while I was working on it before. Or maybe that was the other one, but anyway, stick with me, we'll see what happens. Get a few tools around. There, I got it. There's what it looks like. Getting it off there might be the hard part, though. Comes off just like that. 632 is the new one, right? There's a flat on the side of the shaft here. There's a flat inside the blower wheel. Squirrel cage, common name for it. Push it down to a 1/4 inch. That might be a little too far, but I can slide it back and forth. And the main thing is how it fits in this housing right here. So if I lay it in the housing the way it's got to go, I can adjust the motor back and forth a little bit so that that will turn freely in there and is equally spaced on the two sides. Then the other semi-critical thing, I think the other half of my mount is on the ground over here. The other thing affecting distance on here is my wires have to clear the housing mount. Now I can slide the motor back and forth for that. As I do, I just need to make sure that my squirrel cage is clearing everywhere it needs to clear. Actually looking pretty good right there. Then there are a series of screws that go around here and clamp those two sides together. They look just like this. I suppose before I bury that in there, I should get that clamp back on that squirrel cage, right? Be a little tougher to do once it's in there. So you clamp on those ears on that, kind of like that. Okay, get some screws in there, get it inside, get some wires hooked up, make sure it works. Now that heat exchanger this goes in is all held together with pop rivets. I had to drill the pop rivets out to get it apart. I've actually done that twice now. This is the second time we've had this motor out, so I decided to go ahead and replace it, get a good motor in it. I didn't want to spend my whole year tearing this motor apart, putting it back together. It is just for the heating system. Beautiful day in Mississippi today. Don't need heat. But I don't want to wait until I need it. Until I'm in cold weather again, which will happen soon enough. Kids in Nebraska, kids in Minnesota. You know I'm going to be seeing cold weather again sometime. We are headed to Florida. Well, after this week. We're planning on this Saturday, coming Saturday. I think there's an RV show down in Biloxi, Mississippi she wants to go to. Right now I'm going to go inside, get ready for the work inside, and I will be back with you again in a few minutes. So inside our coach up front, I'm sitting in the passenger's seat. Down below here is the grate, and that's where the heat exchanger is to blow hot air out into the coach. There's also one back in the middle in the kitchen area, one in the bathroom area, one in the bedroom. So we actually have 4 heat exchangers on the coach. Now to access this, there's a little cupboard here. Now I have already taken the screws out of it. Pull it out, set it aside so you can see. And down in here, this aluminum box is where that blower mounts. This whole thing mounts inside there, then it blows the air out here. So I need to do some rearranging of things here. Actually what I do is I sit down here on the floor. These hoses are for the vehicle's heating, air conditioning vehicle system, nothing to do with the HydroHot central heating system or anything. You just need to move those out of the way because I have to push this back. I can't take it all the way out because there's heater hoses on here. Let me get a flashlight and show you. Okay, so in here, right there, if you can see them, Those are the heater hoses coming into the heat exchanger. This is the cover I was telling you was pop riveted on. It just comes off. Looks like I bent it a little bit, kind of getting it out of the way. Got one of the pop rivets stuck in there, but I've got pop rivets. We'll put that all back together. Then down in here, there's the, we'll call it a heater core. Water circulates through that. The blower assembly mounts down in here. Pretty much like that. When the blower is running, it blows air through the hole and out through here to heat the coach. So I'm going to work on that, putting that back together. I'll show you highlights as it goes. I'm going to need both hands in there to do it, and then there's no room for the camera too. So I'll try to keep you updated as much as I can if there's anything I think is interesting or might be useful information for somebody with a similar problem. Now, I think the service parts industry, I think you probably buy this whole entire heat exchanger when you have a problem in here. But being the cheap guy that I am, I thought, shoot, I can fix that. I've done lots of automotive heaters and things like that. The biggest, hardest part was finding a motor. We found a couple of them. Well, in fact, there's a whole bunch of them on eBay, various prices, various vendors. But like I said, for a couple, well, no, for a couple motors, I spent just over $100. In the RV industry, it was like $250 for one. So I'm going to work on that, and I'll be back with you as work progresses. Okay, making progress on the blower motor replacement here. Don't have it installed yet, but I do have wires hooked up the blower in the housing here. You can hear it blowing, I can feel it blowing. It's really blowing the air out of there. That feels like a lot more air than it's blown since we've had the coach. So that motor may have been going bad for about that long too. So anyway, see if I can get this stuck in there, and I'll update you as we go. Okay, just a little note here. Because these wires, this is the cover for the heat exchanger box, and those wires need to feed out through this grommet right here. I don't know if I get a good distance for you to see that or not here, but anyway, the point is I'm going to have to go ahead and cut these other wires off this plug-in because that plug will not fit through the grommet provided. So I'm going to do that. Okay, folks, here I am again, getting ready to pop rivet this cover back on my heat exchanger. Got to thinking, I don't know if y'all familiar with pop rivets, pop rivet guns or not. Now, as I mentioned, I used to be a mechanic. This is my old Stanley pop rivet gun. Used to have a metal thing here on the end would clamp the two together when you weren't using it. But I'm going to set this camera up here. For those of you that don't know, now if you know all about pop rivets, how they work, used them, everything else, you maybe want to skip ahead. I'm just going to show you. A pop rivet, when you get them from the store, they look just like this. Now this is it's a 3/16 pop rivet, which is the diameter of it. It's 1/8 inch long. Right here, it's rated as an 1/8 inch. What you do, you put these in a hole. They're commonly used, or often used, hold two pieces of metal together. You put it in there, this pulls the ball end of that through the rivet, which then expands, and when you get down bottom out on the metal, that inside part breaks loose, leaves you with your two pieces of metal. Well, if your rivet doesn't fly off, it leaves you with your two pieces of metal attached together. Then that last part's supposed to fall out of there. Now, when I was working on these before a month or so ago, I was having a heck of a time with this pop rivet gun, and it may be permanently damaged. Now, it looked like it just popped that rivet off all right, but I don't really have anything I can put one in and demonstrate it. But the idea, this expands the washer part of that. There's what's left. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pop one of these in here. Well, let me show you right here. On this cover, it has this strap. This fits over the heater coil part of it, and there's a pop rivet there, there's a pop rivet there, holding this U-channel in, so you can see there what they look like on the inside. Now again, for a lot of you folks, this is probably not news, not newsworthy, not worth me mentioning. but I got to thinking maybe not everybody knows of such things. On an RV, there's a number of things. Parts on our awning are held together with pop rivets. I've used pop rivets for quite a few things on quite a few RVs over the years. Now, I had this when I was a mechanic. I quit mechanicing in about 85. I probably had it for at least 10 years before that, so I'm going to say a good chance this pop rivet gun is 35, 40 years old. It had been working good, but because I was having trouble, and I knew I was going to be digging into this when I wasn't in a campground, I did go buy a new pop rivet tool as well, because I didn't want to get halfway through this project. Now right now I'm probably at least 20 miles from the nearest hardware store. But last week while we were boondocking in Conway, Arkansas at the Home Depot store, this is what I went in and bought. Now, give them a little business, get me a pop rivet tool that I know is going to work when I'm ready to do this job. Now, I'm going to go ahead and try and stick a pop rivet in my box down here. I wish I could pull this out and show you better. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do it in here because I can't take it all the way out. I got the cover on and lined up. I got a pop rivet in the hole. I doubt if this is going to hold steady enough for you to see what I'm doing. I'm going to try and hold it between my legs. And we'll just see what happens. Okay? Usually takes a couple of squeezes to get that rivet compressed enough to where it's ready to break loose. Okay, yeah, this isn't really working very well, is it? You can see it, but now I don't have a hand left to hold it. Try something just a little bit different. I got the seat right beside me here. I'm actually sitting on the floor. I don't know if I can get this aimed down there. I don't know if you'll see this well or not. This may get edited out, but I'm trying. I really need two hands on that pop rivet tool. I'm really not at a place where I can let go of that right now either. There, if I get that set right like that. Let's try the old tool and see what happens. At least it's in a suitable place now. I was having a lot of trouble with those rivets sticking in the tool. There, that's the way it's supposed to work. See, it popped that off almost flush. If you can see that. I hope you can see that. These holes were less than 5/16 or 3/16 when I took it apart before. I had to drill all these holes out to fit a 3/16 rivet because I didn't have an oddball rivet that would fit in there. Now, here's another little point of interest. I don't know what this guy's problem is. Cooper's apparently wanting attention. He's sticking his head through where I am here. You wanting to go outside? Apparently he's wanting to go outside. I thought he was wanting to be friendly here, but let me get the leash off of Lily. Where's Lily at? Come here, Lily. Give me your leash. Give me your leash. Lily tends to want to run out when I have the door open when I'm working. I have to go chase her, so I've just been leaving the leash on her so she could come and go and I didn't have to chase her. So, there goes Cooper. Alright, Lily, you stay here. You gotta stay in, alright? Don't you be sneaking out on me while I'm tied up trying to pay attention to other things. Let's see if I can flip this up on the back. Again, I'm working with the heater hoses attached, and that's kind of limiting my movement some. Looks like this one's lined up. Looks like that one's lined up. See if we can get a couple rivets cranked down in those holes. That way I can use both hands to run the rivet tool. Maybe the difference between when I was 30, now I'm almost 70, maybe I just don't have as much strength in my hands. I don't know, but Okay, well, I'm going to try and finish riveting this. Looks like it's going to take me a little while. I'll be back when we're ready to get stuff turned around. Now, there you can see my wires coming through the grommet on there. These are the two wires that those hook up to. Red's hot from the relay, or brown's hot from the relay. Green's ground, typical motorhome wiring. Green's ground lots of times. So. Okay, I got all those pop rivets in there. Got that all riveted in now. There's ears on the bottom where this screws to the floor. Okay, so I got to get some screws in there, get the wires hooked up. Then just a matter of putting the cabinet back in there and putting stuff away. So, okay, back again here. I do have the wires hooked up, blowers running if you can hear that. I was going to point out there are also screws that go in the corners of this faceplate. I had mentioned the tabs that screw down to the floor. There's also screws there, so everything's good and solid. It's like 3/4 inch plywood, the back of the dash panel, as it were, right here. So I just wanted to add that in. Got the wires hooked up. It's working. Gonna get her screwed in there, put the cupboard back in. We'll be done with this for today. So hopefully there's some useful information for somebody in this video. It's getting way past heating season. Well, we're the late January now. We're just happen to be in Mississippi where we don't need our heat so much right now. But we spent December up until Christmas, from late November till late December, up in Nebraska. We had snow, we had wind. It was cold. We needed all the heater we can get, and we were coming up a little short. But we managed, got her fixed now. So for now, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, leave a comment, ask a question. I'll do my best to answer anything that anybody asks. Be safe, have a great day. I'll see you on the next video.